Welcome, Reds, to the latest 100% United transfer special. I'm your host, TC, and I'm joined again by my co-host, Scott. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate.
There's loads of rumours bouncing around, some more believable than others. Plenty to keep us entertained. It looks like we're closing in on Aaron Wan-Bissaka from Crystal Palace. Much needed fullback reinforcements. Quite the transfer fee for a 21-year-old with just over a year's Premier League experience. Bags of pace, great potential. I'll be happy to seal this one, Scott. You getting excited, buddy?
Yeah, I think so. It's taken a bit longer than I would have hoped and would have wished, but it seems like it's the Woodward way, just to penny pinch and drag things out for weeks on end when they could have been done in a matter of days.
Yeah, and maybe he sort of leaks stuff as well, so so that we know that we're trying to sign someone. So then, in the past, signings just used to pop out. Remember when we got Anderson and Nani?
Yeah,
that summer.
Yeah, and I remember Juan Varane.
Exactly, no one had a sniff.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the day and age of the internet, it's a little bit different, but maybe it's the club leaking to give the fans something to appease them.
And you never know, it could be agents as well, trying to put out that a deal is near in order to maybe get interest from other parties. Who knows? But it just seems like these transfer stories just turn into sagas.
Yes, mate. I mean, Duncan Castle's obviously renowned as Jose Mourinho's mouthpiece when he was at United. In the record, said that we'd sealed the deal for 55 million quid. Again, other papers are following up saying we've sealed it for 60 million. It's probably 55 plus 5 add-ons. Mm-hmm. But the noise is getting louder, mate. Most papers are running with it's going to be sealed in the next 48 hours. It seems like this one's going to get over the line to me from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and given his own goal in the last game, he's going to fit right in with our defence, right?
I'll leave it out, mate. Come on.
It was just another curse, right? Like, here I am, finally able to watch the under-21s game and I do a bit of scouting, and then he comes up and scores the winner.
Yes, mate, but at the same time, Nemanja used to score a few own goals and a few red cards as well, God alive, as a result of you attacking the ball. You attack the ball at the near post, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100. You can see the corner, can see the throw and whatever. Sometimes you put through. There was kind of an old adage that the best defenders score own goals. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a byproduct, but if you're an attacker of the ball, you're in those positions, then sometimes you put through, right?
That is true.
So it's certainly not a reason for us to turn our noses up at him. I mean, especially as defence is sort of the golden part of his game, really.
Yeah, I mean, by that stat, then Chris Smalling should be one of the best in the world, no?
I've still got a soft spot for Chris Smalling. I think he's a good guy and he gives his all. So, yeah. But talking about centre-backs, mate, Kalidou Koulibaly of Napoli. The Italian press are now linking him to Liverpool and City, different reports. He's still got a release clause, buddy, and it's still an option for us. We know the clause. Maybe for a club like United, someone with a release clause is a massive plus because they can't push us up. They can't give us United prices. We know what we have to pay. We pay it, and that's the end of it. No negotiations.
Yeah, but again, this is exactly what I was just saying. This stinks of something that the agents are now pushing out in order to get a concrete bid in from us.
Yes. But you know what? If a concrete bid did go in for Koulibaly, I certainly wouldn't be complaining.
I wouldn't either. I'd really welcome him. I think he'd be a defence-changing player. Someone who would be able to lead our defence instead of just being another bit part player.
Yes, mate. And if we get in Wan-Bissaka and we get another centre-back in, that's 50% of your defence already. Luke Shaw's on the left with plenty of room to improve and obviously a vast improvement already. Mm-hmm. So, the defence has taken on a bit of a different look already.
Yeah, did say a couple of weeks ago we do have other areas we need to improve. Let's move on to that.
Yes, mate. And so, we do have plenty of areas to improve. Reports coming out today, ESPN have said we've got only a £100 million transfer chest. So that's plus anything we sell, but 100 million is the starting block. The Standard recently said we got £200 million and the Times said we got £250 million. So what do you make of that?
That's a perfect example of no one knowing what they're talking about and everyone just putting out.
Absolutely hit the nail on the head, buddy. Yeah. At least we admit we don't know how much United have got to spend. Yeah. I mean, we can guess as well.
Exactly.
But it is a load of nonsense, right?
I can't imagine it's only 100, given the state we're in and how much pressure is being put on the club in order to make these signings.
Yes. The only worry is that it was 250, and now they're thinking, God, we're going to get 150 million in for Pogba. We don't want to spend 400 million quid, so let's do 100 million plus the 150 million they get in for Pogba. That's the only worry, but I don't think it's the summer to be messing around. And I think the Glazers and Woodward, they surely know this, that, they've penny pinched and it's kind of getting to the stage now where if they want to keep on making the same kind of money that they make as a management team of the club, they need to start putting in the performances on the field and they need to start signing the players that are going to reap those rewards.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that. I think even if we were to sell Paul Pogba, it would be shocking if we were to spend £400 million. So it might just, I'm just going to be happy if we sign anything, mate, because at the moment we're just moving at a snail's pace and it seems like everyone's catching good deals here and there and we're not at the table.
Yeah, well, someone who doesn't move at a snail's pace, we've been linked to out of the blue, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang of Arsenal. Now, on TalkSport, Andy Goldstein said that we are interested. We made a bid of £70 million. Obviously, top scorer last season, 22 goals, a level with Salah and Mane. He's 29 years old, £70 million is a lot. He hasn't got much left on his contract. But Andy Goldstein said the guy who tipped him off about this is a 75% correct transfer rumours guy. So what do you make of that, buddy? Is that a load of nonsense or is that possible?
I don't know. I think there might be a bit of truth to it. He would certainly... I remember a few years ago how much you wanted us to sign him from Dortmund. But it might just be...
It was you, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure it was you there, pal. That's what messed around. But I think it might just be testing Arsenal's resolve in this attitude they're having that if a player has less than 2 years left on his contract, then they're willing to sell him because they don't want to be put in the same position that Aaron Ramsey put them in. You know, he would definitely add something to our team, but all these rumours about us bringing in strikers must mean the end of Lukaku, no?
Yes, mate. We'll get onto that soon. Just on Aubameyang, obviously, look, top scorer, 22 goals last season. That's one thing at our team for starters. He can play up front, he can play wide too, he can play in a 2, he can play in a 3. I kind of like the idea of it in a way. I wasn't even thinking about this, but when it popped up, I thought, God, play him on the left, play him on the right, play him through the middle, play him as one of the 2. He's got bags of pace. He seems to hit it off with certain players, you know, sort of kind of get sort of little relationships going where he's creating and getting created by his teammates. I don't know, mate. I'm open-minded about it. It is out of the blue. He is a bit old, but look, he now is Premier League proven. And who knows, man, if Ollie likes the look of him, he is a proper striker. He has got bags of gas. Who knows, mate?
Yeah, I wouldn't get too attached to this one, TC. I don't see it happening.
I'm not, mate. I'm just weighing it up, you know. I can see the positives in it.
Sense in it?
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Well, I think we're just in a window that all these nonsensical ideas are being sprouted around, that as soon as one actually has a bit of sense, then we cling on to it, you know?
Yes, of course. And, mate, of course, we've only got Danny James in, and you're looking through the team, and we can pretty much improve in any part of the team. So just chuck me a rumour for any position, and I'm going to have a look at it. So another rumour, just mentioning Danny James there, obviously I've got my one Welsh winger in that I was looking for. We're now being linked to another Welsh playmaker, 21-year-old David Brooks of Bournemouth. Had a cracking season last season. 7 goals, 5 assists, 30 Premier League games. Only 21. I can't see it happening, buddy. Look, we've got one youngster in already. I can't see the benefit of going for another guy who's sort of a bit wet behind the ears.
No, but it sort of does make sense as a Solskjaer signing. He wants to bring in potential instead of ability. It's something that makes sense, as we say, and not as farcical as the rest of the ideas that have been sprouted around. So, again, I wouldn't get it too attached to this one, but
50 million?
It's crazy, isn't it? It's absolutely crazy.
It is. I mean, he's a cute little player. Look, he's got a lovely touch to him. He drifts around beautifully. But yeah, £50 million, that's a hell of a lot, mate.
It's mad. It reminds me of a few years ago when just any old player was 30 million. And you're thinking, God, this guy's 30 million nowadays.
Yeah.
And now it's 50. It's just...
I know. And you know what? I do look at the stats. I do look at the output. 30 Premier League games, 7 goals, 5 assists. That sounds all right. But there's 18 games there that he hasn't provided a goal. He hasn't provided an assist. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of games. And you come to United and you can have you can have limited minutes. I don't know. He looks fantastic, of course, but there's the pressure of coming to United. I wouldn't want us to pack our team with too many youngsters, so we don't have that balance there.
No, it's the kind of signing that Fergie would love to make. Mm-hmm. But once he already had a world-class team in order to have a player to blood him into. And at the moment, as we say, we need players that are going to come in and be able to provide instant stats and instant contributions to the team. And I just can't imagine that that's a name that's going to, as you like to say, pull up trees.
Yes. Let's stick with the Welshman for now, mate. Gareth Bale, his agent, came out and said that there's more chance of him winning at Ascot than Gareth Bale going out on loan. Vicente Calderon, the ex-president of Real, has come out and said Bale's become a problem and he hasn't lived up to expectations now. Now that is...
Of course, he's on 600 grand a week.
I know, but that's a mouthpiece for Real Madrid. So that's just sort of applying more pressure onto Gareth Bale to get him out. And obviously Neymar Jr. has come out and said that he's made a mistake going to Paris Saint-Germain and he wants to return home, the home that he regards as Barcelona. But Real Madrid apparently are interested in offering Bale or James Rodriguez plus £115 million for Neymar. Now, looking at that, I wasn't thinking of Neymar, I was thinking of Pogba. I was thinking this is exactly what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Neymar's valued about 200 million, right?
Yeah.
115, 200 minus 115, what is that? 85?
Yeah.
So they're valuing Bale at 85. Sorry, it's euros.
Still.
It's too expensive.
Yeah.
It's too expensive. And this is the problem with the package deals, mate. And this is why I said last week, if we sell Pogba, we sell him for direct cash.
For sure. 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
These player exchanges, the valuations just go crazy, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They do. But interesting stuff, mate. We'll see with that. As I say, I think the Bale mess with Real Madrid, we'll let them sort it out. It'll be a late summer jobby, if anything.
Yeah, probably you're right.
News coming out of Spain now is João Felix of Benfica. I know we've been chatting about him on the pod. It looks like Atletico have some kind of an agreement going. Doesn't mean it's sealed and delivered, but it looks like they're making a big move for João Felix.
That's a great move because no matter what happens, you're still going to be able to sell him in a few years for about 50, 60 million pounds plus, whatever you're signing him for now. Yeah, good bit of business.
Yes, mate, and of course, Felix. It's not such a. You're not moving to England at 19. You're moving from Portugal to Spain, next door, basically. Same kind of climate, same kind of culture. So it won't be such a big move in terms of, he's a young lad, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there won't be as much pressure on him.
No, they won't, mate. But Cristiano Ronaldo came over to Manchester when he was 18, and he survived, didn't he? We made a man out of him.
Yeah, I think it's really early to start comparing the two. They obviously have similarities in their game, but you got to think Ronaldo's top 3 of all time.
Yeah,
and it's very generous to compare the two already.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that you can bring in someone who's young and worry that they're too young, but they're wise beyond their years. And I'm just saying, look, I wouldn't say no to him because of his age.
No, of course not. Yeah,
but if I was in his shoes, Atletico looks like a decent move. And you know what, as well, we talk about the change in culture and stuff. And from Portugal to Manchester, it's a big change at that age. And we don't know the character of the guy. He might like the culture. We'll see with that one, but it looks like Atletico might steal a march on that.
Yeah, and again, a player I wouldn't see us being able to sign unless we were playing in the Champions League.
Maybe. Okay, Romelu Lukaku, I know you mentioned him a little while ago, mate. He's apparently agreed a move to Inter, wages, etc. We want to recoup pretty much all of the cash we put out on him. It looks like we come to the end of the line with Romelu, mate, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. As soon as a player comes out and starts saying that other managers are the best in the world and he's he wants a new challenge, etc., then yeah, we just got to try and limit the damage he's going to do to the team and move on from it. And when you're sprouting these players around for £50 million, then just being able to recoup our money for him doesn't sound like the hardest thing for us to be able to do.
No, absolutely. Well, you're looking at the other players that we're looking at for 50 million, then Lukaku's definitely worth 75 to 80, right?
For sure. He's got to be still top 10 most effective strikers in the world. And a player that if we were looking at now, it would be definitely over 100 million. So why should we charge any less?
Yeah, I guess the problem is he scored less than 1 in 2 for us. Obviously for Belgium, he's got a fantastic record. He's the record scorer for Belgium. It's a shame. Romelu Lukaku could have just quietly said, look, I want to go, and just walked out the door. And I would have said, look, his attitude, I think, was decent when he was at the club. But obviously the remnants of having Mino Raiola as your agent for a while, even though he's now gone to Rock Nation, he's probably stolen some of his little dirty tricks.
Just kept it behind closed doors, right? You don't need to come out publicly and start slating people. It's stupid.
But look, Inter have got Icardi, we've talked about before. Like we said, playing ability-wise, obviously a fantastic player. Character-wise, he's a volatile character. He's got his missus as his agent. But like we said before, we've had supposedly dodgy characters before arrive at the club, and they've been fantastic. So they've also got Skriniar, the highly rated centre-back there, who we could ask for in exchange. There's a few people there we could possibly get as part of that move, mate. What do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely take Skriniar. I might take Icardi, but just for the sounds of it, I'd like them to put in some sort of bid. All this you're hearing that, Lukaku's agreed terms and this and that, but no formal bid's been put in. It just seems like they're either trying to get him to put in a transfer request and put the price down a bit. I don't know, they're just trying to negotiate the transfer fee through the player. It just doesn't seem ethical.
No, and not in keeping with the way we deal. I think we've been pretty decent with Romelu Lukaku, but look, if he wants to go, he can go. Whatever. Juve sporting director Fabio Patrici has said he loves Paul Pogba, but he won't talk about him. while he's at Manchester United. We had this last week, didn't we, buddy?
Isn't that what he's doing?
You just talked about him.
Yeah.
You know?
Does make sense.
It's mental.
Yeah.
Apparently United are going to hold out for £150 million for Paul Pogba, which I think is the correct move.
Good. What do you make of these stories that we're going to offer him a new contract of $500,000 a week?
I think it's a bargaining tactic, mate.
Yeah.
I think, realistically, I don't know. It's mind-boggling. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's I can't see it happening. I think it's a power move from United. We say he's not for sale. We're going to offer him $500,000 a week, and we get top whack for him.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so. I can't see us keeping him, mate, and him behaving next season. I just can't see it happening.
No, I can't either.
He's just too volatile, mate. He expresses his emotions too much on the field. We need people who, will go in the office. They'll demand a new contract. They'll demand this. They'll demand that. But when they step on the field, they give 100%. Yeah. And that's what you've got to ask, you know? I mean, I look back, mate. You know, I used to moan about Wayne Rooney. I used to moan and moan and moan. Say, blooming handed in a transfer request. All the rest of it. But the truth of the matter is when he stepped on the field, he was running around and blooming hitting the tackles, giving 100%. Yeah. And it's funny how history makes you sort of move your position slightly. You know what I was like. I used to love Wayne Rooney. I blooming, my mates used to take the mick out of me all the time for how much I loved him. And after he handed in his request to move from the club, I stopped singing his name. It was a blanket ban on Wayne Rooney. But looking back now, I'd give my right leg to have Wayne Rooney's attitude in the side,
Yeah.
Talking about right legs, Dean Henderson, looks like we're going to offer him a new contract and send him back to Sheffield United for the season on loan, which I think is a great move, really. Tie him down and give him a year's Premiership experience. What do you think, pal? Spot on?
Yeah, I think so. He's certainly a good player to have in the long term. Played well for the England under-21s, was unlucky in the last minute.
He was.
Yeah, I mean, their equaliser, he might have been able to get down on his near post. Just seemed like he had caught the De Gea bug with his getting wrong-footed by a 25-yarder.
But he saved a penalty from Moussa Dembélé.
Yeah, it was a good penalty save.
And again, getting rave reviews from Peter was a good save, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
As we mentioned earlier, Wan-Bissaka putting through late into stoppage time and gifting France a 2-1 win, which was a shame for the 21s, but there you go. Copa America. Chile 4-0 winners and Alexis Sanchez on the score sheet. Can you believe it?
Yeah, against the old South American team of Japan. Yeah. I was watching, I was like, wait, what is this? How are Japan playing? I didn't realise that that they have an invited club every couple of years.
Invited country, yeah?
Sorry, invited country, yeah. Couldn't believe it.
Unbelievable, mate. But
Are you gonna say anything about your Argentina predictions? Because I think they've got 1 point from 2 games, haven't they, TC?
They have indeed, mate. Have indeed. Yeah, I'll be putting some money on them tonight. Absolutely. Don't worry about that.
One thing I have noticed from it, sort of same thing with the Women's World Cup, is that there's still a lot of ironing out to do with this VAR. It's mad, mate.
Right. You know what? That's a great point, buddy. Let's get on to that. I want to go through the Women's World Cup. We've got quite a few of our players there. Let's start with Scotland because there was massive drama. Massive drama.
Mad.
Now, look, the keeper's, she's got her foot, I mean, it's inches, centimetres off the line, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking, she's gaining no advantage and the refs called it back. To me, that's VAR misused, personally.
Yeah, absolutely. And it happened a few days earlier with Nigeria against France.
It did. And the thing is, the keeper didn't even save it.
She didn't even save it.
It hit the post.
Mental.
I know.
Mad.
So, just to caveat that, the Premier League have come out today and said that VAR will not be used for goalkeepers coming off their line. So, the referee will judge that and judge if something's had an effect on the penalty. VAR can be used, but it's not going to be used as a rule for the keepers coming off their line. It's quite funny, isn't it, buddy? Because technically, the Scottish keeper was off her line.
Mm-hmm.
So by the rules, it was the correct decision. But is that the road we want to go along? Because for me, you can talk about facts, but I think as football fans, we know the truth. And that was a robbery.
Yeah, I think that, you're giving advantage to the taker by allowing them to sort of do these stutter steps in their run-up and what have you. And sometimes it just messes with the goalkeeper's timing and they don't really have a choice. They're trying their best to save it. It doesn't really affect it that much, does it? I understand if they were going a couple of steps forward, but they're not. It just seems like they're overusing it. It's mad. But I'll tell you the worst thing about it, mate, is that now these games have 7, 8, 9 minutes of injury time.
I know.
I was watching Brazil against Venezuela the other night, and Brazil had a couple of goals that were ruled out for VAR. One which was a bit harsh, if anything. Firmino was trying to get out the way, and it hit him on the way in, and he was barely offside, but still offside. But firstly, it took the guy 3 minutes to, and they're not even looking at replays anymore, right? They just got their finger in their ear, waiting for the decision to come down. But it adds 10 minutes onto the game.
I know.
It was crazy. And then at the end of the time, they actually put the board up for 2 more minutes because half the players were going down with cramp because again, it's 100 minutes in. It just seemed completely farcical, mate. VA farce.
Yes, mate. Yeah, well, you know what? I've been opposed from the start. You've been the big fan. So you're the one. You explain it, mate. I've always thought it's a dodgy thing for us to bring into the game. But funnily enough, the Premier League have said that they will look at players doing the stutter run-up. They will look at players encroaching, but they won't judge on the keeper being off their line. I presume it's kind of like they know that everyone comes off the line. It's like pulling the shirts from the corners. If we're going to use VAR for that, then it's a penalty every time you have a corner, right?
Yeah, but that was another thing that, was it last season or a couple of seasons ago, in the first couple of weeks, penalties were given left, right and centre for the shenanigans that go on during corners. And then it just sort of seemed to fade away.
I know.
And the stuff still happens. They get away with murder sometimes. You say I'm a big fan of it. I just hope it evens everything out, right? And everyone was opposed to it when they did it with the American football. When they started doing it with tennis,
Yep.
Don't forget, everyone was against it. Roger Federer was completely against it.
Still is.
But at the end of the day, it gets a lot of decisions right. And we've either got to trust it or keep moaning about it.
Yeah, well, what I would say is that American football and tennis have natural breaks, right? So after you have a play in American football, or you have a point in tennis, and then you stop.
Mm-hmm.
So that always happens.
Mm-hmm.
Play never goes on for more than, well, it depends who's playing. Rafa, Nadal and Federer can go on for 3 minutes a point, can't it? But What I'm saying is that there's a natural break.
No, you're right.
In football, there's not a natural break. Rugby even, there's a natural break. Cricket, there's a natural break. And look, football's the most popular sport in the world. And maybe one of the reasons it's the most popular sport in the world is because there's not so many breaks.
Correct.
We like the feel of it. We like the fact we get swept away on this wave for 90 minutes and we don't really know what's happening. We bloody love it.
Yeah.
So that's why I oppose it, mate. It's not me moaning. You know what I'm like. I'm open to new ideas, but I just think that it's causing loads of hassle. It's not really sorting stuff out. And then, like you say, we've got blooming 9 minutes injury time. We've got blooming a keeper who's a hair off their line and they're out the World Cup. For me, that's not in the spirit of the game. But
you're right.
Look, maybe it'll line out and maybe it'll be all right.
Doesn't it seem so unnatural when a goal is scored and then all of a sudden there's like a 3-minute pause that everyone's sort of looking around like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But, in the UEFA Nations League, did you see that it was, Portugal against Switzerland, when Switzerland had a penalty that they thought was a penalty, not given, goes up the other end.
Mm-hmm.
And Portugal get a penalty awarded by the referee, and then they come back to VAR and realise that, okay, before the Portugal penalty, it was actually a Switzerland penalty.
Yeah.
So it went from being possibly 2-0 to 1-1.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. And I tell you what's going to happen is that some decision like that's going to happen, and then a player from the other team is going to want the play to stop for the referee to go and check it and hack down a player, completely injure them, possibly get sent off.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, well, actually, that should have been a penalty. So now the player's not sent off.
Yeah.
And, there's going to be something, and it's going to happen in a big stage, and then it's going to be complete bedlam, mate.
I know, mate. I know. And that is the worry, isn't it? That is the worry. You're opening Pandora's box and we don't really know what's going to pop out.
Mm-hmm.
Football, as I say, is the most popular sport in the world. And they're tinkering with it in a way that we don't know the outcome. So, mate, we will see with it. But still, I'm not sold.
Yeah. And I wonder how long it's going to be before there are going to be adverts during the VAR checks. And before you know it, like the 45 minutes of pure sporting action that we're watching is broken up into little segments here and there.
Yeah. And obviously, Old Trafford doesn't have a big screen. So for the stadiums that do have big screens, there will be replays. There will be full information on what the decision is. At Old Trafford, it will just be the decision popped up on our tiny little scoreboards. So
that needs to change. We need a big screen, mate. It's 2019. It's crazy.
Maybe, you know what, buddy, though? I like the fact when I'm in Old Trafford, I don't have a big screen. I like the fact that I'm absorbed into the game. I like the fact I'm right in the game. I haven't got half an eye on a big screen. I'm not trying to look at replays. I watch the replays when I get home or on my phone or whatever. I quite like the romance of being in that cauldron with no TV there.
Well, yeah, there's a difference between the big screens that show like the lineups and the stats for the game, and then there are other big screens that just have the game going while it's going on. I don't suggest the latter. I do like the grounds that have the big screens that just show the lineup and little things here and there. The time of the game, obviously, to have United 1, other team 0 or whatever up there is a bit limiting for our day and age.
Yes, mate. I mean, I'll tell you, look, I'm open for VAR, I'm open for everything. I'll tell you the biggest thing that I don't like about VAR is that when I'm watching a game, if I'm in the stadium, a goal goes in, I take a super quick glance at the linesman, super quick glance at the referee, see the linesman's flag down, see the referee point back to the centre circle. I know it's a goal. Nothing's changing. That is a goal. I can go absolutely mental. I can lose myself. And in 2 minutes, I can come back to consciousness and know we scored a goal. Now, I'll be honest with you, mate, I can't go as bananas. I can't, because I know that the ref's going to do his little TV sign and then I've got to wait. And the thing is, I can't keep on going bananas for disallowed goals. It just can't happen. So it's taken away the joy of the game for me, because when we score, I like to lose it.
I know. I can definitely attest to that. Bloody hell.
Yeah, it's true. But do you see where I'm coming from, bud?
I do.
Because, already I've limited myself by looking at the linesman, looking at the referee. Because I know, linesman's got his flag out, everyone's going bananas around me, and I'm like, it's not a goal, it's not a goal, it's not a goal. In Old Trafford, everyone's like, what? I'm like, look at the linesman. But I can't be waiting for a blooming video referee for every single goal we score. It does take a bit of the joy away from the game, I think.
Yeah,
personally.
I can't disagree with that. One thing I would suggest they do is stop the clock while the checks are going on.
Yeah.
In order to avoid these 8-9 minute injury times, and find it takes a bit of the romance away from the running clock all the time and the flow of the game.
Yeah.
But it's mad to have this huge amounts of injury time or VAR time, whatever have you. And then what happens if, as you say, if there is a check during injury time and then they have to put a board back up again? And it's crazy, mate. It really is.
It's a big mess, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, I think they're using the Women's World Cup as a little bit of a sort of testing ground, aren't they? They've obviously tested those penalties and gone, right, we're not going to do that again. But, Alex Greenwood, the skipper, Abby McManus, the new signing from over the road, Man City, both been playing very well for England indeed. Greenwood won a penalty. It was missed against Argentina. We still won 1-0, went through. 3 from 3 for the English girls. A fantastic display from them. Phil Neville, ex-Red, as the boss there as well, which is quite nice too.
For sure.
The England girls are playing fantastically, right? Really nice style of football too.
Yeah, and showing a good bit of heart as well. It's really great to see.
Yeah, and our new signing, Jackie Groenen, Dutch midfielder, they won 3-1 against Cameroon the other day, went through, and she played another 90 minutes today, which is superb stuff as well. Obviously, she hasn't played for the Reds yet, but she's a new signing, and she looks a cracking little midfielder too. So yeah, the Women's World Cup going well for the Reds in general. Lizzie Arnott, one of my favourites, out with Scotland, unfortunately, but good signs, and obviously the women going up to the top league next season. We're expecting big things from them. We're actually going to do a midweek youth team and women's podcast when the season starts as well. So we, as we say, 100% United, covering 100% of the club. Be a bit fun, Scott, right?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
So, Reds, nothing concrete, but we should have our second signing before the next pod on Monday night. Thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or your favourite podcast app. 5-star reviews always appreciated. If you have any comments or questions, DM us on Instagram at United100podcast. Make sure you're following us too. Thanks for joining me again, Scott.
Thank you, mate.
Cheerio, Reds.
Ta-ra.